From supporting the green transition to the challenges Singapore's economy faces. Earlier on News Tonight, my colleague Glenda Chong spoke to Trade and Industry Minister Gan Kim Yong to discuss what the Singapore economy faces and how far measures go in giving businesses a leg up.
In fact, the plans that we announced today are consistent with our Economy 2030 programs. The idea is to expand our manufacturing sector, deepen our services offerings, broaden our trading environment, as well as developing enterprises and workers. And these are very consistent with what we have announced today. And we are on our way to achieve our Economy 2030 targets. But I must say that along the way, we do expect setbacks from time to time. The last 2 years have been very, very challenging. We have global economy slow down. At the same time, we are faced with the global inflation. And Singapore being an open economy, we feel keenly the effect of these global trends. And what it means is that we just have to double down on efforts towards Economy 2030. And I believe if we work together, we will be able to achieve our targets.
Okay, you mentioned about these challenges, these external environment. We know it's getting challenging. Global rules might make it more difficult for us to also use tax incentives to attract and retain foreign investments as well as MNCs. So the question is, are we doing enough on this front compared to our competitors?
We will continue to always have to do more. That's unfortunately our fate, and that's our karma, if you want to put it. But I must say that we have introduced new tools for our investment promotion for economic development. This refundable investment credit is one example that the DPM Wong announced recently. But this is just a scheme to attract investment. But our offering go far beyond just tax incentives and grants and tax credits, because when investors look at the opportunity for investment, they look beyond just dollars and cents. They also look at the environment for the investment. They look at the policies that we have. They look at the infrastructure that we have built, the extensive connectivity that we have. I think these are very important factors of consideration when investors evaluate a destination. And therefore, many of them will continue to invest in Singapore, and we continue to see good pipeline of investment projects that we are working on. So I'm quite confident that we will continue to attract good investments if we continue to improve our investment environment. We continue to build our workforce, ensure that they have the necessary skills, and work with trade associations like Singapore Business Federation to reach out to engage the businessmen to make sure that we are able to solve their problems, address their concerns, and make their stay in Singapore a productive and profitable one.
Right. Okay. So saying that, Mr. Kok, let's bring you into this conversation. Some of the initiatives or schemes to go global or even scale up for that matter, right? They require companies to take the first step and actually apply for them. But then the question is, are there challenges that will hinder companies, like perhaps maybe short-term priorities like manpower issues or even rising costs, from them actually taking up these initiatives or these schemes? How can we, create or encourage them to take up these schemes and initiatives?
Thanks, Glenda, for that question, and thank you, Minister, for picking a plug on working with the Singapore Business Federation. I think it's fair to expect companies to step forward and apply. I think we can only help companies who are willing to help themselves. And if these companies are willing, there are actually many channels for them to approach the agencies to get help. Of course, they can approach Enterprise SG, or they can approach the network of SME centers, which are set up just to help them to apply for these grants. Or they can work with the trade association and chambers. For example, they can work with the Singapore Business Federation, which partner very closely with the government agencies to help companies digitalize, to help them decarbonize, and help them to go international. But as ministers say, are there things that we can do more? Yes, of course. For example, we can perhaps work with the government agencies to make the schemes a little bit more business-centric than scheme-centric. I'll give you a small example. Okay. The Skills Future Enterprise Credit Scheme, for example. In the annex that accompany the speeches, there were 18 schemes from 13 programs. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming for the agents, for the companies, just to understand which scheme is kind of applicable for them. So can we take a more business-centric view? Now, when then companies start to apply for the scheme, can we again work with the agencies to simplify the administration process so that the submission of documents is less, and then when it's being processed, can the time be shortened? Can the cash be advanced to them much quicker so as to address some of their cash flow issues? These are all real pain points that companies face, but I think there's opportunities for us to work with the agencies to improve that.
Okay, well, there's another question as well, and we know we're hearing increasingly a lot about this, and that is carbon capture. So, there were announcements of carbon capture, and we also know that workers these days come with green skills. So, are there still lingering concerns for companies, for businesses in terms of decarbonization, especially when we know that sometimes going green is actually perhaps I would say, it involves different types of costs. So it's, not really cost effective for them to go green, but we're encouraging them to do so.
Indeed. I think what you say is hitting the nail on the head. When we did our national business survey last year, 4 in 10 companies actually say that they have difficulty going green because they don't know where to start. And the other one is, of course, the cost has a certain pressure on them as well. So we welcome the government's extension of some of the schemes to help, the expansion of the energy efficiency grant, the extension of the EFS for sustainability. All these would help. And expanding these to cover more sectors will certainly lower the cost. But I think it's important to pay some attention that just like digitalization, the implementation of these so-called pre-approved solution sometimes is not so straightforward like changing a light bulb. There's still certain complex processes that's involved. You need to do some business process re-engineering, some changes of business operation. And for SMEs, sometimes it's not the lack of the solutions, but the lack of expertise. And this does disproportionately sometimes affect SMEs who does not have the deep financial resources, nor the technical expertise to do it. So we will encourage the government agencies to look at how we can also support not just the cost of the particular system, but the associated costs. Some of the trading costs, consultancy costs, down to the operations and implementation. And if there's a way to make available this technical expertise to allow companies to use it as a service, I think that would be even better.
Right. Minister, what are your thoughts after hearing that?
I'm very happy to hear that, because I just want to emphasize that as every time when I engage companies, they give us many good ideas. And I always assure them that there are many schemes available under the Singapore's government, but you don't have to worry what scheme you are you're eligible for. You just tell us your challenges, your problem, and we will design a scheme for you. So, and this is where actually the partnership between government and the trade association is very important, because they are very close to the ground. They understand the enterprises, and we know what are the schemes available. So we tell them, don't have to worry what are the schemes that are available. You just have to tell us what your needs are, and we will design a scheme that suits your needs.
Right.
The carbon transition is one example. It is very challenging because it is a new field. Very few companies have embarked on this journey. Particularly, I think most who have embarked on this are the bigger companies, multinationals, that they have a commitment to their customer to reach carbon zero, and therefore they are quite serious about embarking on this journey. And under PACT, which we announced today, it will include carbon transition as part of the fundable, financeable component in their partnership. And we are encouraging the MNCs to partner their suppliers so that both of them can embark on this transition together. And one example I cited in Parliament was SETS, which is working with the suppliers to see how they can encourage their suppliers to also proceed on a decarbonization journey. So I think this is a work in progress, right. And we can't do it alone. We need to partner with the trade associations, with companies who are ready and willing to go, and we give them a nudge and encourage them to move along.